Hello everyone. Today, we study Unit 13. Film and Cinema. Part A, Reading. What kind of films do you like most? Action film, cartoon film, detective film, horror film, romantic film, science fiction film, silent film, war film, love story film, action film, cartoon film, detective film, love story film, science fiction film, horror film. Audience. Be based on. Decade. Liner. Motion pictures. Movement.
The history of what we call cinema today began in the early 19th century. At that time, scientists discovered that when a sequence of still pictures were set in motion, they could give the feeling of movement. In the first 2 decades of its existence, the cinema developed rapidly. In those early days, film were little more than moving photographs, usually about 1 minute in length. By 1905, however, film were about 5 or 10 minutes long. They used changes of scene and camera positions to tell a story, with action playing character parts. In the early 1910s, audiences were able to enjoy the first long films, but it was not until 1915 that the cinema really became an industry. From that time, film markers were prepared to make longer and better films and build special places where only films were shown. The cinema changed completely at the end of the 1920s. This was when sound was introduced. The change began in America and soon spread to the rest of the world. As the old silent films were being replaced by spoken ones on the screen, a new cinema form appeared, the musical cinema.
Now, we do task 1. In task 1, you find a word in the passage that can match with filmmaking industry, cinema, series of related events or actions, sequence of still pictures, A period of 10 years. Decade. Quickly and in a short. The jaguar runs very quickly, and in a short time it catches the ostrich. The jaguar runs very rapidly. Rapidly. Part of a film. Scene. A person in a film. Character. Now, we do task 2. In task 2, you answer these questions. 1. When did the history of cinema begin? 2. What did scientists discover at that time? 3. Did films in the early days have sound? 4. When were audiences were able to see long films? 5. When was sound introduced? 6. What form of films appeared as the old silent films were being replaced by spoken ones? 1. When did the history of cinema begin? You can find the answer here. The history of cinema began in the early 19th century. Two. What did scientists discover at that time? You can find the answer here. At that time, scientists discovered that when a sequence of still pictures were set in motion, they could give the feeling of movement. Three. Did films in the early days have sound? You can find the answer here. No, they didn't. 4. When were audiences were able to see long films? You can find the answer here. The audiences were able to see long films in the early 1910s. Five. When was sound introduced? You can find the answer here. The sound was introduced at the end of 1920s. Six. What form of films appeared as the old silent films were being replaced by spoken ones? You can find the answer here. As the old silent films were being replaced by spoken ones, the musical cinema appeared. Now, you write the answers in your notebooks. Task 3. Decide which of the options below is the best title for the passage. To know the main ideas of a passage, you should read the topic sentence. And here is the topic sentence. The history of what we call cinema today began in the early 19th century. Work in groups. Talk about the passage using the cues below. Thank you. Goodbye. See you later.